One of the most popular types of stencil used in screen printing is the light-sensitive or photoemulsion stencil. A liquid photoemulsion is applied to the screen using a coating trough. An even layer of emulsion is gently pushed into the mesh and the screen is then placed into the drying cabinet. As the screen is now coated with a light-sensitive emulsion, it will remain in the dark until it is completely dry and ready to be exposed to the artwork. Most screen prints are made up of several layers of colour. To achieve this, a film positive is created. Imagery can be photocopied or digitally printed onto acetate, or drawn by hand onto drafting film for each layer of colour. It is important that all elements of the artwork on the printed or drawn films are opaque to create a successful stencil on the screen. Once ready, the film positive is placed onto the UV exposure unit. The coated screen is removed from the drying cabinet and placed over the film, ensuring there is sufficient space between the inside edge of the screen and the artwork. The rubber lid and vacuum help keep the artwork in close contact with the screen during exposure. The lid is secured and the exposure time is set. Once the required exposure time is complete, the screen is removed from the exposure unit and taken to the washout tank. Here, water is sprayed over both sides of the screen, washing away the unexposed emulsion. This leaves a stencil on the screen that will allow ink to be pushed through the open mesh. The screen is then left to dry completely. Once dry, the screen is placed on the press bed and the areas between the frame edge and the emulsion are covered with tape. This is to stop ink being accidentally transferred onto the printing paper or press while printing. The screen is attached to the printing press with the aid of the press bars and clamps. It is important that the screen does not move out of place when printing. A piece of clean acetate is stuck down to the press bed to help registration, and a suitable size squeegee for the artwork is selected. The squeegee should be slightly larger than the stencil area by a few centimeters. It is then fastened onto the squeegee arm, ensuring it is central to the clamp, and the clamp is adjusted so that the center of the squeegee aligns with the center of the artwork. This will ensure an even layer of ink is deposited across the stencil area. A bead of acrylic screen printing ink is applied to the right-hand side of the stencil. With the screen slightly raised, the squeegee is pulled through the ink to the left-hand side so that it fills the open mesh. This is called flooding the screen. The screen is then lowered and the squeegee is pushed to the right while applying pressure to keep the screen in contact with the press bed, transferring the ink onto the acetate registration sheet below. A sheet of printing paper is placed under the registration sheet and aligned to the printed artwork as required. Once in the correct position, small tabs of paper called lays are buttered up against two edges of the printing paper. The lays are taped in place and help ensure each layer of colour is printed in the same position on each sheet of paper. With the first sheet of paper in position, the screen is flooded. The screen is fully lowered and the squeegee is pushed to the right while applying pressure, printing the first colour. As the screen is raised, it is flooded once again. The quality of a print is checked before being put on the drying rack. More sheets are printed with the first colour, flooding the screen after each print to ensure an even layer of ink is transferred and to prevent ink drying into the screen. Once a required amount has been printed, any excess ink is scraped back into the pot and any remaining residue is washed from the screen. The process is repeated with each stencil until the print is finished. The initial print on the registration sheet, aligning the printed sheet with the next stencil, positioning the lays, and printing the colour. Once the photo emulsion stencil is finished with, the stencil is removed so that the screen can be used the next time.